So, what's going on, fools? Back with
Hello.
another episode of I Love Big Ass TD's podcast, post week three, pre week four preview. We have another guest this week. Um, a team with multiple names has changed over the couple times over the season. You know him best as Troy Hudson. You also might know him as the Fighting Mudangs, and every other assortment of team names that he's been so far this year. What's up, Troy?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me. It's always nice to be a part of the higher scorers of the week. I was not a part of that, unfortunately. Um, but yeah, the Fighting Mudangs might have to be retired, unfortunately. That was a pretty poor showing from the little pygmy hippos.
Are
But
you just gonna ride out whatever team name gives you the most juju throughout the season?
without question, what else would I do?
Did you change that before the game week, or did
I
you change
did,
it
yeah.
during?
No,
Okay,
I
all right.
changed it. So I think I changed it on like Friday or Saturday. So I guess yeah, during game week, but yeah, it was probably not a good idea, but neither was neither was a lot of starters I put in. So
And back here with the commish, of course, the usual crew
Yes,
without Nick tonight, so we have a new host temporarily.
yes. I don't know if you're referring to me or yourself or Troy. I
I
mean,
was gonna say we discussed Cam doing it.
whoever's deciding to host this is, I guess, all three of us. But I would like to refer to this podcast as your favorite podcaster's favorite podcast, since we are trending up the podcast charts in the sports and niche realm here, of fantasy football broski podcasts. I'm
Yeah,
sure there's
yeah.
plenty of them, but
This episode is sponsored by OnlyFans. I'm actually gonna start releasing some content here in a minute, so I'll
only 40 minutes at a
only
time
40
too.
minutes. Hey, I'm not a
Yeah.
marathon, okay?
I mean, if you need more than 40 minutes, then but Cam got away from getting his nipples pierced this weekend.
Oh my god.
Speaking of,
We will dive into that later in the show. But let's get started here. We had a matchup in week three between the commission myself, a pretty high scoring affair. I don't know if Sleeper didn't really like Skip's odds in the beginning of the week, but he had a couple people show out. I don't know, Skip, let me take this one first. What do you think?
Well, I'd like to say that Sleeper does not like my team this year. I've been only projected like a max of 110 so far, and yet I've won two of my three games. So whatever their formula is, it doesn't like smoke and mirrors. It doesn't like what I have going on with the two running backs and the rest of receivers. I didn't expect to score 148. That's for sure. I knew the number to beat you was going to be 130, and I hit that nail right on the head because you scored 129.8. Um, my quarterback only gave me 8 points essentially. Saquon doing all the heavy lifting for me. Roma Dunze having his big come out game. And then I'm going with the waiver wire defense. So I love that as far as manager efficiency. Shout out Willie Styles. Um, but yeah, I'm happy. I know that's disappointing for you getting above the median, but taking the L 1-1 on the week, 3-3 on the season. Um, you know, I'm gonna ride Saquon until his quads blow up. That's as far as I can take this. It's all about his quads and how far I can ride them.
Pause. I know you texted me on Sunday mornings or maybe Saturday afternoon saying, once the 1 o'clock window is done, if you're not up by a substantial margin, then the game might be mine. Unfortunately, you were up by probably about 60 or 70 by the end of the first window. And that was enough. I feel like this was the first week where, well, actually, last week I played pretty well. But this is the first week where like all of my stars my core kind of played well. Everybody, top five guys had over 18. Of course, Rashid had a comeback down moment across from Odunze, who had a pretty big week. Um, of course, a defense differential of 30 points is usually going to lose you games, but I think for me, the big whiff this week was keeping Juwan Jennings on the bench. He scored almost a third of my points on the bench. Certainly putting him in there would have probably made me the high scorer of the week, and I would have gotten two more wins. I don't really know if I would have started him over anybody else, maybe Cam Akers. But that's just a poor management choice on that one. There's no such thing as moral victories in this game, but I do feel pretty good that my team performed even in a high scoring loss. So I feel like I'm getting back on track. Week 2, I played really well. Here, I played well, just not well enough to get a win, at least in the head to head. But I still got a medium victory, so I'll take that. But yeah, your team's looking good, man. Everybody's popping off. Saquon doing Saquon things, and of course, 20 plus points from the defense every week will get you some wins.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
I can kind of sympathize with Cam on the moral victory angle with I'm not gonna get too far into my game, but watching like most of my team kind of really sputter out and come back to earth, but also getting Burrow to actually have a decent game and look like the Burrow of old. He didn't look like he was hesitant on any of those throws. But yeah, I think the main difference here was obviously the defense. 30 point swing, you can't really come back from that. Having a negative defense is always a not fun thing to have to deal with. But and I think Cam, you're right. If you did start um Jawan Jenkins, Jawan Jennings, you would have had I think like 184, 194. You would have had like a really good game. But unfortunately, you had him sitting in both leagues, right?
Yeah, and Dynasty too. And on the defense thing, I picked up Las Vegas on the waiver. They're playing Carolina, and with a new quarterback, I thought that might be, an automatic slam dunk. But, Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, came out and looked like 2015 Andy Dalton. So can't win them
Yeah.
all.
I
I don't
accidentally
know if
him in another league, so it was not so bad.
I don't know if you would have ever started Juwan Jennings unless it was a desperation thing and you went with Cam Akers. So like, yeah, he went off for 41 on your bench, but like the chances you actually were going to plug and play him is
Yeah,
so small, just as small as him going off for 41. So
right.
that's not really a bad managerial call. It's just like a unbelievable game. He'll never do that again.
Hmm.
And you just gotta hope that he can give you something moving forward as a plug and play option. He is nowhere near being a number one, even number two there. So
Yeah.
that's just a tough thing to kind of get over.
Next one, we have the podcast host Ghost get a win over Johnny Three. Johnny Three's kind of sputtered this past weekend. In week 1, Alvin Kamara come back down to earth game simultaneously. Charbonnet playing well. Um, but Nick, I mean, just having solid performances across the board. Even his running backs weren't super hot, but everybody else, including Derrick Henry, having Derrick Henry of 2020 games, dropping 30 against Dallas. Big overall win, and his bench played decently well. Right, Thielen got hurt, but he had a couple players drop over 10 on his bench. So, Nick's looking as strong as ever. I think he's the 2 seed overall right now. Big win for him. You're not going to win that game many times as Johnny Three's team. So
Oh, uh, sorry, I saw your mouth move, Colin. But no, I think Nick's team is really, really deep. From his flex position, he's getting like 13, 14 projected every single week. I've been watching. I think Chris Godwin was no, wide receiver number 2 going into last week. So his chemistry with Baker's like is very good. Yeah, he's wide receiver 3 right now. And that's on a team with Mike Evans as well. But I'm really not looking forward to having to play against Nick this week, considering my team's on the downturn. Uh, so yeah, it was a really good win from old commish there, and going against Johnny's kind of having a little bit of a down year, unfortunately. I think not having Tyreek Hill to perform well, the Dolphins offense um doesn't really look promising for the future. I'm a little concerned about my equity in Miami, both as a fantasy player and as a fan. So I think that's probably all Johnny really needs is if Tyreek Hill comes kind of goes back to what he's used to, and but doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon.
I have a little bit of faith in Tyler Huntley. One reason he's on my dynasty team, but also because he's an athlete. I think he's a
Yeah.
playmaker. They'll get the ball to Tyreek Hill. I'm not necessarily worried about Tyreek. I don't think he'll be a top 5 receiver, considering Tua is out for the rest of the year, but I still think he could be a top 10 receiver. Johnny needs Tyreek Hill to be that top 10 receiver because the rest of his team is gonna be up and down. I don't see, Tyreek Hill is clearly his number one player. Kamara's, we all know that he can pop off, but I don't know if he does it consistently enough. Tyreek Hill is his best player, and he needs him to be a top 10 receiver throughout the season. This was Derrick Henry's Baltimore Ravens game. I mean, 151 yards, 2 touchdowns. He scored a touchdown in every game so far, but this one against the Dallas Cowboys, they just absolutely ran through them. Derrick Henry specifically. He's over that 30-year-old hump now. So the fact that he's still going strong with no major injuries, knock on wood, is a testament to him as an athlete, but also his regimen at home. I know he focuses a lot on his diet, and especially this offseason, he went crazy with it. But yeah, Nick's team is scary. I think he has the best team, even though he's only the number 2 team. He has a single loss. I think it's probably against the median, or it may not be. But I think Nick's team is the strongest team. His bench isn't that great. He has a good backup QB. But his first 11 is unmatched. So I see Nick, big Nick energy doing big Nick things this season. And definitely one to watch out for. I want to stay out of his path. I'm sure I play him soon though.
Next, we got our podcast co-host today, Spunky Pickle, taking on the number 1 seed, Hut Tua, and Willie Styles, our previous podcast co-host. Sleeper liked you in the pregame to win by 5. Looks like Willie kind of outperformed and you underperformed. What happened here?
Josh Allen. That Bills offense looked really, really, really good on Monday night. It looks like the Dolphins went from having Tom Brady kick our ass in the division to Josh Allen, almost like a handoff in a way. But James Cook got me again. I don't know if you guys remember from last year when James Cook fumbled to himself forward and I ended up losing to Colin by like 5/10 of a point. So I will always have a special place in my hatred heart for James Cook. But yeah, I knew going into Monday night that there was really no chance. The only chance I could have had is if I had Jawan Jennings magically appear on my flex spot. Um, but yeah, it looks like my team kind of the bubble kind of burst on guys like Xavier Worthy and Michael Pittman. I was really high on him coming into the year, but after watching Anthony Richardson um, play some of the worst quarterbacking I think I've ever seen in my life, and I've watched a lot of Dolphins quarterbacks in my day. Um, I just had no more faith in that Colts passing game. Um, it looks like on the bright side, looks like Sutton might have found a little bit of a connection with Bo Nix. Bo Nix actually looked pretty damn good on Sunday. So that was pretty promising. And then on my bench, I had some Yoshi touchdown action once again. But I with T. Higgins coming back, I really wasn't sure how much target share he was going to get, so I shipped him off. And hopefully I can get a little spark from the trade I made with Rob to kind of get me back on track for the upcoming matchup with Nick Griner.
Yeah, we'll hop into that trade here after we go through this week, but looks like you also made the right call on your defense, choosing
Barely, yeah,
-4 over -8.
yeah. Wasn't my wasn't the best situation in the defense department for me. Past 2 weeks have been bad. Cowboys were really hot to start off the year, and then they had two negative performances back to back.
I
So,
wouldn't hit the I wouldn't hit the panic button just yet. I think you have a lot of guys that that are like volume guys. You know, HN, I know I wasn't tooting his horn last week, but like he seems to be the guy there. I mean, obviously behind Tyreek, but like they have a lot of faith in him.
yeah,
Dobbins, he looked really strong coming out. I think they lost an offensive lineman if I don't if I remember correctly, but I still think they're just going to keep feeding him. Garrett Wilson's the number one athlete there. I wouldn't be hitting the panic button. This is your worst week so far, 106. It's not even that bad of a week. But you also played the best team in the league. Willie's hot right now. Josh Allen, let James cook. I mean, even Aaron Jones, even the Vikings with Sam Darnold at the helm are playing well.
yeah.
I think he called it. I mean, he said he was due for a loss. It didn't happen this week, but he's due. He's due. Willie will have an off week. It's coming. Um, that's not to talk bad about him, but like 6-0 is unbelievable, especially in this kind of competitive league. Um, but I think you're right. The fighting Mudangs, they fight. You know, we see it every clip. He's biting the trainers. He's biting his food. He's biting his mom and his dad, whoever those other hippos are. Like he's got some fight in him, and I think that's a good representation of your team. I'm not hitting the panic button yet, but making trades like that is how to change the course of your future. And wheeling and dealing is I think what you need to be doing, and creating value for yourself. Keenan Allen, I think that's a good pickup. That's another volume guy. He should be getting 10 targets a game minimum. So well done there. I mean, it's a tough loss, but I think you're headed in the right direction. You know, making those moves.
Yeah, if Jason would have just responded to my text instead of just telling me that my trade offer wasn't terrible, I would have had a much better week. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, we talked about this on previous podcasts. I still think you have one of the deepest teams in this league. It just so happens that this week, you couldn't put it all together with all your starters kind of playing well, right? Like I don't think Nico Collins is going to score less than 12 points most weeks. HN and Dobbins, right? They're studs. So I think you put it together. I think this might be one of your poorer weeks this season, but still somebody I don't want to play come later this season.
Did you guys catch the end of that Texans game by chance?
No.
They threw to Nico Collins 5 straight times in the end zone. 5 straight times. They got like a penalty on one and then just 4 straight times, and like it was like inches away for four times in a row. I was like, good fucking
Torturing you.
absolute torture.
A relatively low scoring game here. I don't think either of these players got actually, I think Josh snuck past the median on Monday night. I think he was coming into Monday night actually down pretty handily to Jason. Jason can't get off the schneid. Obviously, Joe Mixon didn't play, kept him in the starting lineup. He got zero point 0.6 points between both of the starting running backs. You're not going to win many games with that as your output from your top two backs. Um, Jamar Chase coming out party, right? This is kind of doing what he does. I know Troy was looking to capture, poach him in a trade earlier this season, well, earlier this week. Um, Jason also didn't start a tight end who was hurt. Interesting matchup here. What do you guys think?
I didn't even realize that Jason didn't have two players playing. He would have actually had a pretty decent week if he did. Um, yeah, obviously I was trying to make a little handcuff with Burrow, and Chase. That would have been a nice double dip on Monday night. We knew it was
Oh, I'm assuming he's going to come back, but I'll just say this: Jason, even if even if he was setting his lineup properly, like he didn't have another running back to play. Gus Edwards has been absolutely non-existent so far.
sorry, I
He
lost
needs a
power.
yeah. Oh, you lost full power?
Yeah,
Oh damn.
yeah.
Well, welcome back.
And like right back into the meeting too. That was weird.
But Colin, you were saying, yeah, even if he did start Edwards, it would have only given him zero point 0.9 more points. I mean,
Right. And then his tight end even Tucker Kraft, like who even is he? Kind of a guy. So I don't think he wins this game no matter even if he's setting his lineup at 12:59 Eastern. Um so Jason's got some work to do. He better be wheeling and dealing like Troy, like the Fighting Mood Gangs, or else I mean that's all he can hope. That's all he can expect is goose eggs and losing strategies if he's not starting to make some things happen. He literally has no running backs. I mean, Joe Mixon's hurt again. Jalen Warren's a running back two. Gus Edwards is a running back two, and Kamani Vidal is the running back three behind a running back two, Gus Edwards. So I mean, this is where balance is important. I mean, you got to draft with some balance. You can't just expect to start 11 wide receivers and Brock Purdy. That's not a strategy.
I have a,
But
yeah, I have a quick shine or shade on that. We have two 0-6 teams in the league right now. One is Rob, one is Jason. Um, shine or shade that Jason finishes as the worst team in the league this year.
I'd have to shine that. I
yeah,
think Rob is just a much more active participant in this league than Jason is, and like just strictly on that, I think he takes it. And also, Rob is like willing to like facilitate trades and kind of um, go for people and mix it up. I don't, obviously Jason is not always super present, but I mean, he always ends up having a good team. But I think Rob uh, ends up on top of Jason.
yeah, for sure. Jason is definitely headed towards the toilet bowl slash relegation slash rival team tattoo slash karaoke of singing full heart. Um, I mean, maybe we should pick a song now so that gives him an incentive to not sing that song. Um, we can wait till he's 0-8, and that'll be a record breaking. But Jason is better than this. Like I don't know what his strategy was going in. Maybe he just was winging it. But it didn't play, and he's got to make something happen, or else he will be, like I said, relegated, tattooed, or singing his heart out to some sad song, and we're all gonna have to watch it. We're all gonna be sad.
Yeah. I'm going to shine that too. We find that teams who finish last place in the playoffs usually are the least involved and least active. And I think he's definitely headed that way, right? Starting two goose eggs before the game even starts. I think he's definitely headed towards the Turlet Bowl. The lowest scoring team this week playing Trevor, who's been on a little bit of a heater, the number two, or might be the number three team right now. Alex can't really get it done. We talked a little bit about this on the first podcast where, he has this Cardinals, Falcons live and die by the Dirty Birds. If they play poorly, he plays poorly. It looks like that happened this week. What do you guys think?
Yeah, like you said, what having the double stack is always a risky move, um, especially with Falcons players. There's Kirk Cousins is not nearly as mobile as he once was, albeit he wasn't always a very mobile quarterback. But even now, even after that win on or that yeah, that win against the Eagles the other night, he looked good towards the end, but it was a Vic Fangio defense, and that man loves playing prevent defense, and that's pretty much how you end up losing games. It prevents you from winning. Um, and I don't know. And did I see that correctly? Did he have Josh Palmer out on his flex spot, or is that on his bench?
That was his flex. Yep.
Yeah, so that's not going to help you. Um, yeah, and a goose egg from Kayumi. Yeah. But yeah, altogether, I think just putting all your eggs in one basket is kind of the theme here with Alex's team. When you get when you get the basket home, it's nice, but when you accidentally trip, it makes for a bloody outcome.
It couldn't have been said any better than that. Um, I think Trevor's kicker defense combo is going to win him a lot of games. between the Jets defense and how stout they are, and then the number one kicker from last year going into this year, that's going to win him a lot of games. So far, every single week, his kicker defense combo has given him at least 20 points. That is something to behold because not a lot of people, put a lot of value in their kicker defense combo, myself included. Yet this is how he's going to win games. He's going to have his, 1 through 11 roster spots putting up numbers, and 117 will win you games in this league, as we've seen. There's only you know when you lose games, you're under 110. And he's staying at that 117 to 125 output level, and a lot of it is because of his kicker defense is going to be solid. I mean, Singletary's looked good for the Giants. Ramondre Stevenson had an off game, but he has enough to beat some of these lower scoring teams, including one that has a double stack, team double stack. This is more about Trevor being. I think he's gonna know he's gonna be putting up 115 and above the whole season. So when you play Trevor, just score 115 and you'll probably beat him. But that level of consistency can get you into the playoffs and make you, a team that can kind of shake some things up. So well done, Trevor, and all the Singletaries.
Quick shiner shade on that. We actually have 10 minutes, so we're gonna fly through this last game and talk about the trade. Shiner shade. Trevor has a better chance of finishing in the top 2 seeds than he does finishing in the bottom 2 seeds. He has a better chance of finishing 1 and 2, better than he has a chance of finishing 7 and 8. Shiner shade.
I would shade that. I think he's gonna end up being around the 7 or 8 mark. I think that's more of his speed, kind of to what Colin was saying. He's been very consistent towards, like, he's winning games, but he's definitely at the lower end of the scoring output in those games. So I would have to shade that. I think it's going to be towards the end of the playoffs.
Yeah, I'll shade it as well. I think he's more likely to finish as a 7 or 8 seed rather than a 1 or 2 seed, because he's averaging 118 points a game right now. I'm below him in the standings, but I have 40 more points than him scored. So yes, the consistency will get you to the playoffs, but you still got to put up big numbers to make something happen in the playoffs. So he will not be finishing a 1 or 2 seed. There are definitely teams that are better than him. So I would shade it. He's more likely to finish as a 7 or 8.
And then the second worst team in the league right now, Rob, played Eric. Closer game than I think some of us expected. I think Sweeper thought it'd be closer. Eric's kind of been managing to pull out victories. I think he lost in the median this week, but still got a dub here. Big game from Kyron Williams. What do you guys make of Eric and Rob's game?
Anthony Richardson is, again, tough to put any kind of faith in. Unless he's running the football, it's really tough to kind of hitch your wagon to that. And Eric's team kind of isn't looking as formidable as I would have expected coming into the draft. He's someone that always drafts well and gets a lot of hidden gems here and there, but I think Laporta's injury is going to affect him more so than he would like. And Miami's defense hasn't been nearly as good as advertised. And yeah, I don't want to take up too much time.
Yeah, I'll try and be quick here. I think Rob needs to stay afloat, and I think he still has a chance to make the playoffs. I mean, Christian McCaffrey comes back, that changes his whole outlook of his team. If he can stay afloat, grab a couple wins here in the next few weeks, there's a chance for him to make the playoffs. I'm nowhere near guaranteeing that, and it's very likely he won't make the playoffs. But you put McCaffrey back on that team, and it's a different outlook. Just stay afloat, Rob, and I think you can actually make something out of this season for sure. Eric is definitely weaker than years past, but that's not to say his team isn't good. I mean, all those guys hit, and he looks like a strong team again.
I've eaten enough words so far this season making remarks about Troy's team. I said Eric's team would beat me in the championship. I still have faith that he's going to make a playoff. He's going to make the playoffs and he might make a run. So I haven't lost faith in it yet. He's just kind of hit a little bit of a slower start. All right, we have about 6 minutes, so I want to give Troy some time to talk about this trade that he just made earlier this week with Rob. Um, Troy, you want to dive into it?
Yeah, I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. Not really, wasn't really pleased with Pittman. Thought I had a lot bigger, um, I don't know, a lot bigger plans for him. It just doesn't really seem like Anthony Richardson and his game meshes well. He's not really a long ball guy. He's more of a possession receiver. And Anthony Richardson just doesn't really have that touch. I think Alec Pierce has benefited a lot more from his rocket arm. And then Keenan Allen, I really liked what, even though the Bears didn't win, I really like what I've been seeing from Caleb Williams. I think once he kind of gets everything figured out mechanically, I think he's going to be a really, really good quarterback. Keenan Allen's first game, he had 11 catches. And I think what the Bears offense is missing is what Keenan Allen brings, which is finding holes in the zone, getting open down in the middle of the field. He had 11 catches, or I mean, sorry, he had 11 targets in the first game. And on top of that, the Bears have an extremely easy schedule for the rest of the season. Like if you look at their game log, every single matchup is green from this point on. So I think that there's just gonna, I don't know if it shows up on desktop. Yeah, it doesn't show up on desktop. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
all green on the app going forward. So I'm trying to build for later in the season because I always end up faltering in the championship game. So I'm really looking to kind of bolster the back end of my roster.
I was really curious about that trade because it just didn't necessarily make a lot of sense to me, but I appreciate you giving your side of that because that
Mhm.
makes, seeing what you see makes it a little bit make more sense. I'll go ahead and live process this trade because some of these votes didn't come through till now. So we'll go ahead and process that right now live on the air. There you
Boom.
go. You can now make some lineup changes. Go ahead, Rob, as well. But well done. I mean, I love seeing trades. I love seeing activity. Week 3 is a little slower than probably years past, but activity is the name of the game here. And we're here for it.
Yeah, I think this might be the first trade that we've done this whole year, including the draft.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Rob has been trying to move some pieces around. I know I've spoken to him about CMC. I think Troy has too. I'm glad to see that he's kind of making moves to kind of improve his roster. I talked to Troy about this offline earlier today. I was a little curious about the trade, but I think hearing some of his thought process, it actually makes a lot of sense. I have some stock
Mhm.
in Iosivas in the Dynasty League, so I kind of like him, and I'm not sure what's going on in the Bengals offense, but with Higgins got a lot of looks in the red zone this past week, so it might be a good opportunity to ship him. And I think the Bears will figure it out. I think they're going to be behind in some games. The defense plays good, but I think that Caleb Williams is going to have to throw the ball. So I think Keenan Allen is that good possession guy, and DJ Moore seems a little frustrated in that offense right now. So it could be a good opportunity to get Keenan Allen some looks. So after hearing, initially, what I told Troy was I think that this maybe short-term benefits Rob a little bit more, but I think there are some long-term prospects here toward the end of the season, or through the rest of the season, I should say, for Troy's
Yeah,
team. Yeah.
for sure. Especially between Cooper Cup and Puga, they seem to be both injury prone all of a sudden, or maybe not all
Mhm.
of a sudden, but like they seem to be in and out a lot. So having Tutu Atwell as a plug and play option when you need somebody and when he's going to be um, an available option for that high powered offense, I don't think it's the worst move, even though he just was picked up off waivers. Um, you know, I think it's a good trade for both teams, and that's what you like to see. Um, so
Yeah.
well done, well done.
Another thing about that trade, Pittman had a week 14 bye, and I had like three other guys with a week 14 bye. So
Mm,
I had to make a decision on that because week 14 would have sucked.
yeah,
We have about 90 seconds. I want to do a quick hitter on week 4, get y'all's perspective on who you guys think will win these games. I play Eric first. Looks like it's projected to be a high scoring game here. We already got the Thursday night game kind of going. I'm going to pick myself. What do you guys think?
You,
yeah. Two, Yeah, I'll go the neighbors watch me Bates. 2, 3-3 teams. I'll go Cam's team. You're a little bit hotter right now.
And Neighbors is already balling.
Yeah.
Two teams who are kind of on the downswing, looking to turn it around. Obviously, Jason had his own activity issues, and Johnny three, who got a tough loss this past week. Who do you guys like here?
Johnny 3.
Yeah, it's quick Johnny 3 going for
Yep.
the easy bit dub there.
Next, we got a pretty big game for Troy. He's trying to get back in the win column against Nick, who's a high-powered offense right now. He's already got a 10-point lead. I'm going to take Troy here.
I'll
Uh,
go with Troy as well
yeah.
for the sake of Nick being ahead of me in the standings, and I'd like to see him take a median loss or definitely at least a head-to-head loss here. So let's go fighting Moo Dangs.
I think it's going to be Nick, but yeah, thanks for the confidence.
I always prey on Josh's downfall. I'm going to go Willie here. Willie goes to 8-0.
I think
I
Josh
always,
got it. I think Josh is going to pull it out this week. I think Willie hits the wall. He just played
yeah,
me, so I beat him up. I think it's going to be a Josh fest.
yeah, I'll stick with what Cam said. I'll be praying for Willie's downfall from here on out. We'll make this a rivalry. Go ahead and mark it. Random Josh is here